this video, we're going to cover slides 17 through 21 of our PowerPoints from McGraw-Hill. And in this, we are looking at glands. This is not something we cover in lab, so this is new. So I want to make sure we cover this well. So epithelial tissue has specialized tissue that is glandular. And in glands, there are two types of glands. Now, glands are cells that produce and secrete a substance. Now, there are two types, endocrine glands and exocrine glands. Endocrine glands secrete their substance directly into the tissue, fluid, or blood. These are glands that are part of the, wait for it, endocrine system. Hopefully, if I ask you between endocrine and exocrine glands, which ones are part of the endocrine system, you shouldn't have to think about that. All right, and if you missed that, I might count off double just because. You're just kidding. So exocrine glands are what we look at in this. Exocrine glands secrete their substance into a duct. All right, so the big difference is endocrine glands do not have a duct. Exocrine glands do. All right, so exocrine glands secrete their substance into a duct. And there's two types, unicellular. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but this is what we looked at with goblet cells. They secrete mucus. They're unicellular, one little cell, and its job is to secrete mucus. We're going to look at the multicellular ones. And again, we're going to be very generic on this. It's going to be composed, obviously, of many cells. That's what multicell layer means. And we're going to see how the basics of how they're named. Now, with this, there are some ideas of what they are. Now, again, these two go together and these two go together. So simple and compound describes the ducts. Right? This is going to be either it's going to be one or branched. And then tubular or alveoli are going to describe the look of the area that is doing the secretions. It's either going to be a tube or a balloon looking thing. And then the types here, Miracrine, Apocrine, Holocrine. I'm going to show you these on the picture. I think it's a little bit easier to see. So the first picture that we look at is simply talking about how these are named. And we're going to be very simple on this, very straightforward. In a gland, I have two parts, a duct and a secretory portion. If the duct is if there's only one duct, it is called simple. If, on the other hand, I have multiple ducts, then it is called compound. All right, so simple or compound. From there, we look at the secretory portion. The secretory portion is going to have a shape. If it is a tube, it is tubular. If it looks like a balloon, we call it a velar. It's that simple, all right? It's that straightforward. The duct is either simple or compound. It's either one or branched. And the secretory portion is either a tube or a balloon, and so it's going to be either tubular or a velar. This kind of goes over some of the things. I'm not worried about you knowing each one of these. I want you to know the basics of it. And finally, we name the gland by what happens to the cell when it releases its secretion. If the cell only secretes the secretion and there is no cell damage, it's called a Miracrine gland. If, on the other hand, some of the cell is lost as it does the secreting, it is called an Apocrine gland. And if the entire cell ruptures, so the whole cell blows up, that's called a Holocrine gland. And I'll show you a very easy way to remember this. And the names weren't meant to be like this, but it is just great that it worked out like that. If the cell simply secretes a substance, no cell damage is done with it, you can say it merely secretes its substance. It is called miracrine. If a part of the cell is lost, it is apocrine. If the whole cell ruptures and is lost, it is holocrine. Hopefully you can tie that together. It merely secretes a substance, miracrine. A part of the cell is lost, apocrine. The whole cell ruptures, it's holocrine. And that's what we have for glands.